Testing, testing. Maybe, maybe not. Testing. Okay, yeah, getting close. There we go. Okay.
Turn it green.
Green is now you're on.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to our bee competition. We'll get underway here. First, let me go through with our regular Friday night announcements. Let's get set up here. There we go. Okay. Upcoming Friday meetings. Next Friday, November 17th, creative competition, which will be projection. Deadline's usually the week before. You'll find that on our website. So creative competition coming up next week. Actually, the deadline is passed, so never mind. November 24th, Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. Clubhouse will be closed then, so we could settle down from the day before for a turkey. December 1st, we're lucky enough, it was real popular the first time, Zeb Zimmerman is going to do another tabletop workshop with her crew there as well. It's live here, we'll have all kinds of just tabletops set up, so we can do all kinds of macro again. So that'll be live in the clubhouse, December 1st, tabletop workshop. December 8th, an interesting one. We've had Tom Croce speak before. He's an excellent speaker. He's going to do a Zoom presentation on conservation photography. He has several projects that he's involved with photographing national parks and whatnot over time, and is going to talk to us on ways to get involved in certain conservation projects and certain ones that he's doing now. So it'll be a very interesting Zoom presentation. Clubhouse is open for that. We could be here as well. Also, you'll get a link from home. And with these Zooms as well, the way with our new website, which isn't so new anymore, is the Zoom material a few days after the Zoom presentation, that I'll have that up on our members only portion. So you'll be able to watch Zoom presentations on the members only portion of the website. Next SIG meeting coming up December 7th with Dave Bush will be on focus stacking, all things to do, both in-camera focus stacking as well as using external software. So that should be interesting. Pixel Connection is sponsoring its Winter Demo Day, which they have every year, November 18th, which I think is coming up. There are a number of things free and really discounted for CPS members. There are special deals, and you could sign up for those on the CPS website. Just go to the members section, and you will see the place to sign up for Pixel Connection there. Our, again, free table up front, which is getting smaller. Remember my motto, let our clutter become your clutter. Is anything up on this front table here, which is an old carousel projector with carousels that may work as well too. And I think there's also a projector there. Yeah, there's a pair of Ken Hubble's Eclipse glasses for next year. Get them free here. And as well as a projector. All the good books are taken. Those are old books. But there's a projector there. Looks like it hooks up to a computer. Again, may or may not work. We're just cleaning out some things. If you see something up on that table, just take it home. New returning student policy that we're starting on December 1st. Now if you're returning as a student to take either a course again or the semester again, it'll just be a straight $10, one-time $10 fee for that. To cover rising costs in both technology and administration, and that'll start on December 1st. And sign up is available for our courses, Fundamentals for Good Photography. The winter session is coming up in January. It's available to sign up. Intro to Photoshop Photo Editing. Again, with everything AI nowadays too, this is becoming essential, at least to dip your feet into that, or your toes in. Lightroom Classic coming up in the spring, and Intermediate Photoshop Photo Editing in the winter too. So these are all available through the website. You'll have a description there, and you could sign up on the website. Save the date again. Cabin Fever Party last year was a great success. January 27th to Saturday, 2024. Food, it's like a potluck, prizes, robbers auction, annual tradition. We had a lot of fun last year. Circle the date on your calendar. We'd love to have you. And as always, all of our public meetings are live and on our YouTube channel. Just click on the YouTube icon on the front page of our website. And when you get onto YouTube, just click on live and you will see all of our presentations there. And just an item too, because of the little problem we had with our people watching the People competition when we lost our internet and had to put it up later. Anytime you have any questions or can't find something, check our website homepage, because when there was a problem with the People competition and I had to upload it later to a little different place, we immediately put that on the homepage of the website. So if there's a weather-related problem or whatnot, It's immediately on the home page, so check that if you're having some problems there as well. So, without any further ado, we'll get on with our bee competition of the night. So let me turn it over to Lori Culp.
Hi, welcome. I'm Lori Culp. I'm the former bee competition chair, the current one, Marge. Was supposed to have surgery. She couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to fill in. For those of you who are new to bee competitions, I'm going to explain some of the rules real quick. Bee competition is not a lesser competition. It just means it's beginner, and the only difference between this competition and our regular competitions is that we have in-house club members, experienced club members, judge the pictures versus outside professional photographers whose comments may or may not be complimentary. We've all been there. We've all heard
Who
them.
said my comments are going to be complimentary?
Well, okay, Dave. Point taken. So, they're judged exactly the same. The way the judging works is that we have 3 judges. They look at each picture for 3 different things. The first is the technical aspect of the picture. Is it in focus? Was the exposure correct? Things like that. Generally things that come from the camera itself. The next one is composition. Did you follow the rule of thirds? If you broke the rule, did you do it correctly? Things like that. The last one is the hard one. It's sort of quantitative. It's the impact or the wow factor. They take all 3 of these into account, and then they give each picture a score between 5 and 9. The 3 scores are added up. So each picture will have a score of between 15 and 27. Anybody who gets a 27, that is a perfect score in bee competition. If you get one, you are immediately no longer qualified to participate in a bee competition, and you have to go play with the big boys, okay? So let's get that out there right now. Other than that, there's nothing else different. The pictures, I've seen the pictures tonight. Every one of these pictures could be entered into any of our other regular competitions with no problem. The photography is no different. It is of the same quality. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to the judges. I will let the judges introduce themselves, and then after that, we will get started. If there's anybody have any questions, everybody understand? Okay. I will turn it over to the judges. Mike?
Sure, my mic is on, yes. I'm Mike Kopkas. I've been a member of the club since 2014 and actually was the president before Richard. I have done this a couple of times with the bee competitions, and I do enjoy judging. And as Lori said, most of the images were really very good. So I was happy to see that. I will say, that judging is very subjective. So what we're going to try and do as much as possible is give you some ideas of what worked in the picture, what maybe didn't work in the picture, or maybe could be improved on, or things to try. Okay, we want this to be as constructive for our beginner photographers as possible. So please take what we have to say with a grain of salt. It is subjective. If you enjoy the picture and you think we're wrong, fine. Just again, take our comments in a constructive way. We're trying to help you become better photographers. So, Dave?
Good evening. Richard, can I go home tomorrow and watch this? Okay. Well, that applies to what I'm going to say right now. I'm Dave Saborik. I've been a member of the club for about 10 years. I've competed and continue to compete. While I was judging your photos Wednesday, I was entering my own photos for next Friday. So I've been a mentee and a mentor, and currently I'm chairman of the black and white competition. I took the fundamentals class, I took beginning Photoshop, and I took the intermediate level Photoshop. I work exclusively in Photoshop. I have a couple plugins, Nick software, which I love, and Topaz Denoise. So all my work is done in those, with those tools. Now, when I got done with my Photoshop class, I decided to enter regular competition. And I did that not because I thought I was some hotshot photographer, but because I wanted to get critiqued 12 times a year instead of 4. And the same thing applies to anybody in the B competition. As Lori said, if you get a 27, you have to go to regular competition. But you get one chance a year to switch from B to regular. So you can do that anytime. And you can do that for the next regular competition, not creative, but for the one, for ones later on. And that would give you an opportunity to get critiqued 5 times. And like I said when Laurie was talking, I can't guarantee that my comments are going to be any more pleasant than the ones you would get from the professional photographers that are here. So that, I think, would be something for you to consider. And the reason that I asked Richard if I could watch this tomorrow, I always took notes. And then I would go home, and for my photographs, I would try to do what the judges suggested. And you don't have to take notes, because you can go home tomorrow and turn this on and look at your photograph and what I or Mike or Eric had to say, what suggestions we had. But seriously, I really recommend that you do that and play with the photographs and see what happens with our comments. I'm mentoring two young ladies, two women now, and I always tell them, it's not my opinion that counts. You have to trust your eye, your instinct, and your vision. So when you go home and you work on your photographs, do that. Thank you for letting me run at the mouth here for a little bit.
My name is Eric. I work at Dodd Camera. I've been working there for about 30 plus years. Well, coming up real quick to be my 30th anniversary. I've been a member of CPS for 12, 13-ish years, and currently the chairperson of People Competition. So if you come during People Night, usually I'm the one instead of Lori. I've been doing that for 3, maybe 4 years now. Tell you, working at Dodd Camera doing this, I see a lot of amazing photos, and it takes a lot to impress me because I see a lot of sunsets over Lake Erie. It's got to be a really unique sunset for me to go, that's cool. But that being said, there was some actually pretty awesome photos in the competition tonight, and hopefully, you take hopefully our critiques well, and don't get upset if we say do this, try that. Try it. If it doesn't work, great, it doesn't work. If it does work, you can so now I understand what he was saying. And other than that, ready to go.
I got all my camera equipment, cameras and lenses from Dodd, and Eric hooked me up. So take advantage of that.
A shameless plug.
Okay, so I like the leading lines leading towards the back of the front of the ship. I've been on a cruise ship before, so I unfortunately don't know if this is the front or the back. The color is good. There's no blown out highlights. However, to me, the image looks a little over sharpened, especially in the water. The clouds look good, but the railings and the water look just like maybe you applied a little too much of the sharpness.
A matter of perspective, Diane Glatzer, 19 points.
Okay, just so you guys know, we've seen these images over the last week, and we wrote down some comments, so I'm going to sort of follow along, but I'm going to try and ad-lib a little bit too, and the other judges can please jump in as well. So I can see that you found an interesting sign to photograph that has a lot going on it. And it makes me curious to see what is inside this kit and caboodle crafts shop, or whatever it's called, Soul's Kit and Caboodle. So it kind of made me curious. On the positive side, you've got some strong diagonal lines that kind of focus you in on the sign. The biggest negative I can see, and it doesn't actually show up as, it shows up more contrasty on this screen than it did at home, but I thought the image seemed a bit flat because it was taken in fairly bright sunshine. Whenever you take images in really bright sunshine, your colors tend to get washed out a little bit. So again, I think the colors in this are just a little bit flat, so I would try and bump the contrast a little bit. The telephone lines I found to be a little bit distracting. And again, if you know Photoshop, it's fairly easy to clone those out. And then you might also consider zeroing in on a portion of the sign rather than doing the whole sign, because it gets cut off at the bottom anyway, and then there's that harsh shadow that kind of cuts Raggedy Ann in half there. So you might kind of keep in mind it's real easy to focus in on details, so you might just do a portion of the sign as opposed to the whole sign. But in general, I thought it was a nice image and kind of caught my attention.
A store sign I liked, Peter Tchaikovsky, 20 points.
Okay, which screen are you looking at? Side screen or the front and center? Keep in mind that when I'm at home on my computer, I'm looking at a third different screen, so take that in consideration. I thought this had perfect colors to match the scene of a family sharing something good to eat at the sweet shop there. I thought the focus was spot on, capturing details both inside the shop and outside the shop. And I thought the exposure perfectly captures the light of the sunshine during the day there. The elements on the left and especially on the right side, I found a little distracting, especially on the right side there with all the bright light. I would try cropping the image, especially from the right there, to eliminate some of that brightness.
Yeah,
And again, as I said, it's your eye, it's your instinct, and it's your vision. So keep that in mind when you play with it.
yeah, I would agree with you, Dave. I think the right side of the image can be a little distracting because your eye wants to go to brighter areas, and that whole edge is kind of bright. So if you would crop it at the edge of the blue there, and then maybe this garbage can down in the corner, you could use Photoshop's remove tool to get rid of that, or crop it one way or the other, although the flowers, I think, look nice.
The other thing I might consider, and you may not think about it, but a polarizing filter would get rid of the glare on the window.
Yeah,
From the
good point.
outside, you could see further and get more detail on the family.
Afternoon treat, Lance Mayer, 20 points.
So the tonality of this image is actually pretty excellent. The softness enhances the mood of the image. There's an out of focus branch that's kind of covering up her hair and her back that's a little distracting to me. I don't mind it on the shoulder or on the dress, the lower part of the body, but the one that cuts the hair and the back is a little distracting to me.
Archival Bride, Amy Rudowitz, 22 points.
Okay, this is a really nice country scene. It's got several different layers to it, which provides some interest. You've got the corn layer, and then you got the layer with the barns, the trees in the background, and then the sky. To me, the center of interest, though, in this image is the barn. It kind of ties the whole thing together. I do find the cars on the right side to be very distracting, and I think my preference would be to kind of crop them out. Crop it, and then maybe if you don't crop it all of them out, you could maybe remove the other ones with a clone tool or a remove tool or something in Photoshop. And that would have the advantage of moving the barn off center, because right now it's pretty much dead center in the image. Also, if you know how to do it, I would darken the sky a little bit, because again, your eye gets drawn to the brightest parts of an image, and that sky, those clouds are really kind of blown out. So I would either crop them or, use some kind of a gradient to darken them somehow, if you know how to do that. But just be aware, with something like that, you typically don't want your center of interest right in the center of the photo. It's a little bit more dynamic if it's in the rule of thirds.
Avian Farm Park, Renee Naley, 21 points.
Dave, that's you. Oh, push it on the bottom. There you go.
I got it. Leave me alone. Okay, I thought the uniqueness of the subject matter gives it some impact. I thought also that if it had a more natural setting instead of the flat background, that would add to the impact as well. I thought the photographer did an excellent job of focusing in on the eye, and that renders all of the details in the bird's face more visible. So nice job there with the focus. Exposure-wise, I might increase the exposure a little bit just to increase the tonality in all those details. My major suggestion with this photograph, actually, after looking at it for a long time, would be that the bird, I think, doesn't have enough breathing room. I would use generative expand or content aware with the crop tool and give it more room on the top and on the right-hand side to the point of moving the bird's eye pretty close to the sweet spot. So play with that and see what you think. Also, just because there's so much difference in the whites and the blacks or the dark blues, this might make a great black and white photo also.
It's the details on it are very sharp. I mean, even the little feathers on the head you can zero in on, so it's really in sharp focus.
Black Vulture, Wendy Kohler, 22 points.
So overall, the exposure is good, but the harsh lighting and downward angle of the shot, to me, detracts from the image. If possible, I might drop the angle a bit, but if you're shooting for a bridge or pier, you may not be able to. I would try to get a little bit more level with a goose.
I think a little more contrast might help too.
My suggestion actually is, it seems to me that Is the background black and white? I think there's enough tonality difference here that the entire image would make an excellent black and white.
I agree. Is the maker here? Is that ice that the bird is on, or is that water? Maker's not here. Okay, never mind.
Canadian Goose, Andrew Guroy, 22 points.
Okay, while this image shows off the beautiful fall colors of the trees and their reflection, I kind of struggle with this one because I wasn't sure what the photographer was thinking was the center of interest. And to me, there were a couple of things that were potential possibilities. The lady and the dog obviously would be one. The building in the middle and back there, especially with its reflection, would be another, and then just the trees themselves. Based on where the focus is on this image, I assumed that the maker wanted the lady and the dog to be the center of interest. And if that's the case, then they are way too close to the right edge. You really would need to move over to the right and photograph them maybe with just the trees in the background somehow, or either that or just move the camera more to the right and kind of pick that up. Okay, and then, let's see, what else did I say here? If the trees and the building are the center of interest, then the lady and dog should be kind of taken out altogether, cropped out, or, again, move over a little bit, and then you really need to work on focusing on the building. So, again, based on the focus, I assumed that the center of interest was the lady and the dog, because they're the pieces that are mostly in focus. Again, the colors are beautiful, the reflection is beautiful, but because of the positioning of the lady and the dog, if that's the center of interest, then I think you need to kind of reorient this picture. If it's the building, which to me is probably a little bit more interesting in this image, I would have focused in on that and again, taking advantage of the beautiful fall colors.
K9 at Corning Lake, John Paganini, 19 points.
I think this image has a lot of impact. What a strikingly beautiful fall scene. Kudos to the photographer being there at the right time on the right day to capture this image. Good job. Focus allows the viewer to see the details from the rocks and trees in the foreground all the way back to the horizon. Well done. The trees on the right and left and the rocks beautifully frame the composition. On my computer, the image looks a tad dark for such a bright sunny day. A little more exposure at the site or in processing might have helped. The leaves on the top also help frame the image, but they leave a lot of blue sky. I would try cropping down just a little bit just to eliminate some of the blue sky.
Chapin Forest Quarry, John Paganini, 23 points, honorable mention.
I've done night shots around Cleveland before, and I like the way you got the smooth reflections off the water. The blue light from the building on the left is slightly competing against the gold from the bridge. So it's kind of like two center points, the one to the left and the bridge to the right. I would maybe try suppressing that blue glow just a little bit so that your bridge stands out a little bit more. To me, I think that's where your point of interest is where you're aiming, because that's kind of like right in a sweet spot.
Cincinnati Skyline, Mark Hansen, 25 points, third place.
Okay, this is an effective black and white image. I think it works well in black and white. I don't know that it would have worked quite as well in color. And it makes effective use of the castle, which I assume is Squire's Castle. I'm not sure, but that's what it looks like to me. So you've set the scene with that. The model is well positioned off center. Once again, you don't want your main center of interest to be dead center in the image unless it's a kind of a completely symmetrical image. And this one works well. He is off center. He's well focused, and the background is slightly out of focus, which is what it should be due to shallow depth of field. So that gives the image some depth. So he's in focus. The background is slightly out of focus, again, giving that sense of depth. You might try boosting the contrast just a bit and possibly playing with the shadows adjustment to bring out some of the details in the model's costume. It's hard to see on this screen. I don't know what the side monitors look like.
The side monitors look better.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see detail in his outfit.
Yeah, but I noticed on my computer screen, it would be nice to see a little bit more, so maybe bump the shadows just a little bit. But overall, I think it's a very nice image.
Concord, Amy Rudowitz, 22 points.
Image shows an excellent use of the Rembrandt lighting to illuminate one side of the subject's face. The low-key lighting could have been more effective if the background wasn't so bright. If the photographer could move the subject to a place with a darker background and still maintain the Rembrandt lighting on the face, that would be an ideal solution. Of course, easier said than done. As the photograph is, I would recommend increasing the exposure on the face and eyes, and then cropping to eliminate much of the bright background.
Emo David, Peter Tchaikovsky, 20 points.
I've never really gotten into bird photography, but it does seem a lot like sports photography. You need to find a fast enough shutter speed to capture the birds in flight, and in most cases it worked. But the closest bird, the center, has overlapped another bird and kind of looks like he's got 4 wings. Kind of like a Star Wars X-Wing fighter. If this was part of a burst of images, I'd be interested in seeing the shot right before or the shot right after to see if there's just enough more separation between those 2 birds.
You might also try a vignette around this just to darken so that your focus is right on the birds themselves.
Fly South, Please, Lance Mayer, 22 points.
Okay, this is a really beautiful image, very, very beautiful and very effective. There's several different layers, which again makes for an interesting image. It provides a sense of depth. So you've got a foreground here. You've got some middle ground, actually a couple different layers in the middle ground with the dark trees coming down, and then the mountains in the background, especially the ones deep in the background. So again, a lot of different layers that provide a lot of different interest to the subject, and a lot of different tones of green, and that also gives the image a sense of depth. The other thing is, if you notice, there's houses along the way down, and they almost form a line that kind of leads you through the picture. So starting at this house on the top, and then there's one in the middle ground, and then there's some down below that kind of leads you through the picture. The mountain provides a strong backdrop, and the clouds add a sense of height and wonder to the image. So I think it was a very, very nice image.
Foggy Switzerland Morning, Richard Poland, 25 points, third place.
Wow, what an amazing view. Focus spot on to capture the details in the foreground, and then all the way back to the misty hills and clouds in the background. The houses, dock, and boats in the foreground give a hint to the vastness of the scene. On my computer, the screen exposure seems to be perfect. Composition-wise, I would consider cropping down a little to eliminate most of the clouds and sky. That would still give a hint of those beautiful clouds, but it would also give the hills in the background more of the spotlight.
I would agree. I think the clouds detract a little bit because they're so bright. I'm looking on the side monitors. They still look pretty bright. So either tone them down a little or maybe cut them out a little bit. I don't know that I'd take them out completely.
Irish Coastline, Richard Poland, 23 points, honorable mention.
There is an awesome light hitting the subject, and the fog haze of the background totally counters and balances it very well. The off-center of the person following the rule of thirds plays in nicely. Even the hot spot upper right from the sun is not distracting. Well done. I might even crop the left slightly just to remove the edge vegetation. Just in the lower left-hand corner, just kind of come in just a little bit.
One nice thing about this image is it kind of sets a story. It makes you wonder what's going on, what she's thinking about, what she's looking at or whatever. So that's always helpful in an image. It gives it a lot more impact.
LA Skyline Viewing, Jordan Tetzel, 24 points, honorable mention.
Okay, this looks like probably the same young lady or a similar type of situation where it's kind of sets a story. You know, you wonder again what she's looking at or contemplating. So the leading lines of the dock will draw you into this image. It's moody, makes you wonder what the young lady is thinking about. I do think it would be more effective if it was severely cropped on both sides. To me, the focus is really on the dock and the young lady, and the water on the side doesn't really add that much to the image. So I would crop off significant amounts of both the right and the left side. And then that would draw your attention really to the center of interest. So
I wonder if just going vertical would solve that.
yeah, you could crop it as a vertical and then just, you know, that would achieve the same thing as cropping off the right and left side. You'd crop off the bottom too, or at least a portion of the bottom in doing that, so.
Meet Me on the Pier, Jordan Tetzel, 22 points.
Okay, you all saw the impact this one has. That's created by a lot of different things combined. The subject, the colors, and the details of this photograph are what gives it such an impact. The focus on the eye, mouth, and leg and the food is spot on and really highlights the colors and details of the tortoise. On one hand, the action part of the image is right on the sweet spot. On the other hand, though, I don't see the need for half of the image to be taken up by the out-of-focus shell. I would suggest a drastic crop from the top and the left. Try it and then decide which version you like best.
Another option might be to vignette the outside. I do agree if you cropped off at least a portion of that shell, because the focus is really on the head of the animal. So again, maybe a vertical crop or some vignetting to really draw your eye in on the head of the animal.
Ooh, my favorite tasty treat. George Kleppas, 26 points, second place.
The bright colors and the warm tones counter the darker cool tones of the background nicely. It helps stand your subject matter out. The choice of square framing and centering the subject gives you only one thing to look at. On my monitor, though, it does appear to be a smidge on the soft side, so I'm not sure if that was due to the photo being a little soft or maybe when resizing for the download.
I remember that. I thought the focus was just a touch soft too, but that's a beautiful image. The colors are really nice, and the square format really does help, because this is something that is completely symmetrical.
Orange Dahlia, Wendy Kohler, 22 points.
Okay, this is a very, very nice image with the planes being super sharp and crisp. A lot of impact in there. The leading curved lines of the smoke trail lead you through the image, so you kind of follow the smoke all the way through to the planes. The contrasting colors of the bright red planes, as well as the bright white smoke against the crisp blue sky, give the image some terrific impact. So it's a simple image, but I think it was very effective and very impactful. So very well done.
Over the Top, Mark Hansen, 24 points, honorable mention.
A golden-bellied mangabe. Managabe. I don't know how to say it even.
Manga Bay.
But I looked it up to see what it was. And what a magnificent animal. It even posed for the photographer. The zoo gods treated the photographer well with this one. And he or she, whoever it was, took the picture, took advantage of that opportunity. The focus is perfect, allowing the viewer to see the details of the animal. The photographer did amazing work, especially considering that this animal is probably behind glass. The exposure seems to be low on the low-key spectrum. I would consider brightening it up to better highlight the face and especially the eyes. I'm sure the photographer had a reason for not including all of the animal's arms. I think it might have been better to crop in from the left and the right to eliminate that distraction. As a matter of fact, personally, I would consider a really tight crop that includes only the face and the eyes and the beard of the animal.
Primate Act, Candace White, 23 points, honorable mention.
So the lavender and black makes the image very monochromatic or duotone style. The shallow depth of field pushes your attention towards the center of the flower. The lighting balance is excellent with no blown highlights that I can spot. And the shadow of the main flower in the upper right is minorly distracting, as all the other shadows are soft. And that one has a harsher edge to it, but that's getting really super picky.
The colors and tones on that are really beautiful. Really nice image.
I took the same picture.
I was going to say, I looked
and
familiar,
entered in the
Dave.
competition, the last competition. My one suggestion is to put the center of the rose on one of the sweet spots on rule thirds instead of right in the middle.
Either that or do a square crop. That would work as well.
Completely different looks, yeah.
Right.
Rose, Rochelle Kovacs, 24 points, honorable mention.
Okay, to me, the center of interest would be the magenta flower that is well focused and is effectively off the center line of the image. Unfortunately, I think the background behind that flower is very, very busy, and even though it is blurred, I think it detracts from that flower in front. Now, again, I may be wrong. Maybe the whole idea was to do the whole garden. But because that flower is in sharpest focus, I'm assuming that's the center of interest. But I think the stuff behind it is a little bit distracting. I'd like to see this image if the maker had moved to the left and up a bit so that the background would have been mostly a darker shade of green. So in other words, coming at it from a different angle and making the background just more solid color. I mean, there could be some bokeh in there, but what's behind that flower just to me was a little bit distracting. And again, if you moved over so that the background was a little bit more green, that green and magenta are complementary colors, so it would really make that flower pop out quite a bit. So other than that, I thought it was nice. The sky, I think, is a little bit too bright, too, that detracts away from it. So if you were coming kind of down at an angle and off to the left a little bit with a greener background, I think you'd have a much more interesting photo.
Summer's End, Candace White, 20 points.
This one has a lot of impact. Is such a thing as this even possible? The size, color, and details in the way, to me, are quite mind-boggling. In all honesty, I can't imagine how such a photograph is taken. Is it real? Is it composite? Is it AI? The contrast of the surface seems to be a bit, the contrast of the surfer seems to be a bit extreme. Other than that, wow. If this is straight out of the camera stuff, it's well past the time for this photographer to move on from bee competition.
The Wind Ate the Wave, A Beautiful Mess. Diane Glatzer, 25 points, third place.
When this image popped up, I giggled a bit. The expression of the man is awesome. The shadow lines across his face help with the depth of the image, and the eyes stand out and not really covered up by the shadows. The harsh shadow on the wall in the background is minorly distracting, well composed, and the lighting is controlled nicely.
Yeah, when I saw this, I kind of had the same reaction. This is kind of clever way of coming at a photograph from a completely different point of view, which, again, makes for an interesting photograph.
There's my shirt. George Kleppas, 23 points, honorable mention.
All right, this is a very excellent image of a very majestic animal. Every part of the tiger is in very sharp focus, and the background is effectively blurred, so that your focus stays on the tiger. The foreground bush and the background tree frame the tiger well. The eyes are perfectly sharp and draw you into the image. Very, very well done. I can't think of anything. I'd be very proud to hang that on my wall. Beautiful image.
Tiger, Rochelle Kovacs, 26 points, second place.
Subject of this photograph shows a building with unique and interesting architecture. The photo leaves me wondering where the building is and who lives there. Sense of mystery draws a viewer in to linger for a longer look. Black and white conversion is effective, but a little greater contrast on blacker blacks and whiter whites would make the image would make the effect even stronger. My main suggestion would be to simply include more of the building and its surroundings. I especially want to see more of the bottom part of the building, which seems to be cut off.
The other option on that, Dave, rather than including more of the building, might be to include less and just focus in on, say, that second tier with the interesting triangle architecture. Another way of approaching it.
Buildings that looked cool, Peter Tchaikovsky, 20 points.
The expression of the child is great, and his green eyes just pop out at you. The eyes and the teeth look a bit oversharp, where the rest is a slightly softer tone. And I'm not a fan of the specular highlights in the child's eyes, as I'm not sure what's causing it, whether it's sunlight through the tree branches or maybe specular highlights from a bare LED panel. If the latter is correct, I might put a diffuser on the panel.
Dirty Little Face, Grandson Elliot, Diane Glatzer, 22 points.
Okay, I'm going to kind of divide this picture in half. I think the top half of the picture is terrific. The bird's face and the body are in sharp focus and show plenty of detail. The bokeh behind the bird is also very nice. But to me, the blur on the bottom half of the image, which is most likely due to foliage between the camera and the bird, I find to be distracting and detracts from the image. As nice as it would be to capture the entire bird, I would consider cropping off the bottom half of the image and maybe much of the right-hand side to just focus in, kind of doing a close-up of basically the top half of the bird, a close-up portrait type.
Okay, I haven't chipped in on anybody else's photographs, but I am on this one. Because personally, I would not cut off the tail of that bird. And personally, I like the out of focus on the bottom. And it shows that there is something there in front of the bird between the photographer and the rest of the bird.
Just a difference of opinion, and that's fine.
Ever Forward, Amy Rudowitz, 23 points, honorable mention.
The mirrored image of the egret and its reflection was well seen by the photographer and makes for a unique and interesting image. Focus is spot on, allowing the viewer to see all the details in the bird while leaving the surrounding vegetation out of focus. I suggest brightening up the exposure a bit, which would render the water a little less green and a little more gold. And cropping in from the left and right would eliminate the foliage, which to my eye is more distracting than framing.
Going Fishing, Lance Mayer, 21 points.
Boy, this guy has character. As far as the photo goes, it's well lit, exposed properly, framed nicely, and you can see all the cracks in his beak. I think there's just a bit too much head space above the bird to the edge of the photo. So I might crop it in just a little bit more to balance them up a bit more.
Hello, Rochelle Kovacs, 24 points, honorable mention.
Okay, this is, again, a really nice close-up of a beautiful animal. The contrast of the green eyes against the brownish-orange fur is very dramatic. I do think the focus is off just a bit. The soft focus works well for the edges of the image, but the face and especially the eyes need to be sharper. They don't look too bad here, but I remember at home looking at it closely, and it just seemed to be a touch soft. If you know how to use a tool like Topaz Sharpen, you could sharpen the focus of the eyes and bring out some of the texture in the fur, and that would turn what's a very, very nice image into a superior one.
Jenna Wendy Kohler, 22 points.
Wow. This image has a strong impact. The sunshine on the hillside and its reflection in the water really helped take the scene beyond the usual cruise ship photo. Exposure and focus are spot on. The colors, including the pinks in the clouds and our reflections in the water, are stunning. I'm guessing that the photographer purposely left in part of the ship to let the viewer know that he was on the ship when he took the photo. Actually, I suggest cropping out the ship entirely and then doing a slight crop up from the bottom and down from the top. I would have been proud to bring this photo home for my vacation.
Lake Sunset, Candace White, 21 points.
The lone misty patch is not so lonely with 3 people in it. The image is framed nicely by the tree branches. The lighting is well controlled and balanced. The sign on the left is causing a slight tangent as it's kind of hitting the edge of the photo. I'd either back up, zoom back just slightly, or shift left just to give that sign a little bit more space.
Again, this is another image where it kind of tells the story. You're kind of wondering where they're going, what kind of a path they're on, and you got the leading lines of the path kind of drawing you in toward the fog, which I found interesting.
Morning Serenity, Elaine Joseph, 21 points.
Okay, this is another one I might divide into two photographs to talk about. I think the bottom 2/3 of this image is really captivating. Those roots, the narrow, twisted, light-colored roots against the rocky green background are very visually interesting. You might consider upping the contrast just a bit in those roots to kind of bring out some detail. I do think that the top third of the image detracts from the overall impact. The sky and the trees in this part of the image are kind of flat and really don't add anything of interest. The interest is really on those roots, in my opinion. So I would just crop out the sky altogether and just focus on the roots. You may think you need them to provide some context, but the image works, I think, much better without them.
Nelson Ledges State Park, Richard Poland, 21 points.
So Rain on Fall Leaves is an excellent photographic subject, and the photographer spotted the potential in this one. Exposure is spot on, and the selective focus on the raindrops draws the viewer's eye right to the subject, while leaving everything else in a little softer focus. My only suggestion would be to Try a tight crop on just the raindrop portion of the image.
Rain on Fall Leaves, Renee Nally, 21 points.
The fall colors and the tones of the rock blend nicely within the image. The sharpness is controlled well and the lighting is pretty well balanced, but the bright spot in the upper left-hand corner is a little distracting. There's some highlight clipping in that area or possible wide-angle distortion going on that's a bit distracting. So I might crop in just a bit just to maybe cut that bright area in half.
Rock Stars, John Paganini, 22 points.
Okay, I spent a lot of time on this image. I kind of struggle with it. It's a nice image of a very cute young lady, but something about it, I can't quite figure out what. It just seems off. I think it has to do with depth of field. The background behind the young lady and the rock gets so blurry so fast that it gives me the impression that she and the rock were cut from another image and pasted in. If you look closely, it just doesn't look natural for some reason, and I don't know what it is. Her hands are just a little bit out of focus, and even the focus on the face is just a bit soft. So I would play with the f-stop to increase depth of field. One other thing that might help the image would be to crop out the sky and darken the background just a little bit, since the lighting seems a bit off. I don't know if you guys see that. Any thoughts on this? Just for some reason, it just doesn't.
I like the warmth of the projection versus the TV. There's a slight warmth difference. I like the projected warmth better.
Okay.
Oh, I love the tonality on the face. I thought it was wonderful. I would crop the sky like Mike said. As a matter of fact, I would crop all around, even not including the bottom of the rock.
I'd be curious to know what f-stop was used, because if you look and try and figure out what's in perfect focus, I'm not quite sure what it is. It might be the boot, okay? But if you look in the front, the pine cones or the pine needles on the front are a little out of focus. And right up, as soon as you get past the rock, it's out of focus. So like I say, I struggle with this one. It just, for some reason, it just didn't look, I don't know. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but.
Something like lens glare of Lightroom?
I could be, I don't know.
Ruby and her Pine Cones, Jordan Tetzel, 22 points.
Okay, I got three of them that are wow, and this is one of them. We only have 2 photos left, and we haven't had a first place yet, so this one's in the running. A lot of obvious impact. Impact created not only by those incredible colors, but also by the shapes of the colors in the sky, and then in the reflection in the water. Let me look at my notes now to see what else I had to say. This has my absolute favorite color combination: blue and orange. Can't get better than that. Exposure was set perfectly to capture the setting and to capture the vivid colors. Stunning sunsets like this are not always predictable, and the photographer sure did well to be there at the right time and the right place.
One of the rules of composition basically says don't center your horizon line. Guess what? They centered the horizon line, and it works in this photo.
Yeah, there's always exceptions to every
Yeah,
rule.
This
so.
is one of the exceptions where it works.
And part of that is because the sky is as interesting as the bottom part, so it would be kind of a shame to trim one off and at the expense of the others, so.
All right, Salt Lake Reflections, Mark Hansen, 27 points, perfect score. Is Mark here?
Congratulations, Mark.
Congratulations, Mark, you
I picked the winner,
graduated.
and you submitted a winner. Good job.
Here you do, congratulations. And no more bee competitions for you.
So the long drag on the shutter and tripod mount created this excellent waterfall effect. The foreground leaves help give it perspective. The warmth of the tones give it a wonderful fall, make for a wonderful fall image. You have no control over what Mother Nature gives you, but a blue sky with a cloud might have been cool too.
Silky Falls in Autumn, George Kleppis, 24 points, honorable mention. And that concludes our bee competition for the night. I'm sure our judges will hang around if anybody wants to talk to them about their image to get any kind of more clarification. The next bee competition will be February 9th. I know that seems like a long, far away, but it's really not. And it will be a print competition on that one. So I hope that all of you, with the exception of you, will participate. You know, have a good night. Thank you for participating.